She consistently closes over 70 deals every single year, but here's the kicker. She does it while traveling 3 to 6 months of the year with her beautiful family. For the first time ever, I bring on Naleka, who reveals finally her Remote Realtor Blueprint, exactly how she was able to build systems and processes to allow her to build an incredibly successful business, closing upwards of $1 million in commission every year, while also traveling and enjoying the lifestyle that she's always dreamed of. And she explains exactly how you can do the same. Now, additionally, at the end of this interview, she also talks about how she built in the beginning, going from a transaction coordinator to becoming rookie of the year, and the exact things that she did in her first couple of years to build massive momentum and get to her first 70 deal year. This is incredibly tactical, and this is something that, again, can radically change your life if you pay close attention and listen to every single detail until the very end of this conversation. Now, two quick things before getting started. Number one, I will link her content below because she generates a ton of free leads from a small Instagram following, but one that allows people to connect with her very quickly. So you want to use that as a reference point. And number two, Naleka and her husband Armando have turned this into a business in a box with all of the details, frameworks, and strategies built out in their entirety so that you can introduce this into your market and see massive success as well. So if you would like their help for free mentorship, guidance, and support to do this in your own market, following everything they've proven and tested themselves, then click that link in the description and feel free to have a private one-on-one Zoom call to talk with them about getting their help as well as mine. So without further ado, let's bring on Naleka and break down the Remote Realtor Blueprint, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, because it not only allows you to build a wildly successful real estate business, but it allows you to do it while having a ton of fun and enjoying exploring the world and spending time with your family. All right, Naleka, super excited to have you on today. And you know, you've pretty much built the ideal business that every agent dreams of. And I think there's a lot of people that have aspirations to be able to do what you've done, but they don't quite have a roadmap. So I'm really excited to break down how you've built, you know, such incredible production, but while still being able to travel so much and spend time with your family. And, you know, before we dive into all the tactics that I know you have to share, just give people a little bit of an idea of who you are, where you're from, and what got you to this crazy point.
Yeah, cool. No, love it. Sounds great. So I appreciate you having me on. Definitely thank you for your time on this and a little bit of info and kind of my story and how we got started. So I was actually a stay-at-home mom for a really long time. My son was in grade school. My daughter was about to be in kindergarten. So I knew it was time to start, getting back into something full time. I've got a ton of nurses in my family, and that was kind of like the safe path and what I thought I was going to end up doing. And I ended up getting a job as a transaction coordinator for Joshua Smith. If you guys don't know Joshua Smith, he's a total badass in this space, recognized by Forbes, Wall Street Journal, just definitely very high producing. So I was on the back end of his team, seeing just how much money people were making a month, and it just blew my mind. I could not believe it. So with that, I jumped in, got a license as quick as possible, kind of came out the gates as rookie of the year. I was the number one agent on Josh's team every year thereafter that. And then my husband and I built a team to just under 50 agents, ended up opening our own brokerage. Quickly realized that was not the path we wanted to take. That was not the, freedom we had built in our business beforehand. So we got this opportunity to be a part of the Wolf Pack, and here we are.
I love it. That's such a whirlwind of a journey, and just amazing to see, like, going from transaction coordinator to doing, you know, over 70 deals every single year, and, you know, building such a successful team. And, you know, I think you've done it in such a unique way. And it's really beautiful because I find, especially in today's day and age, you see all these coaches and they tell you that this is the only way to do it, or this is the best way to do it. But that's not always the case. And you kind of have to find what works for you. And I know that you and Armando ended up doing that and kind of paving your own path. So let's walk through how you went from being a TC to building, you know, not just a high producing business, but a high producing business that doesn't actually suck the life out of you every day.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I've been there for sure. So, when I first started, I went from stay at home mom to literally 7 days a week out in the field all day, every day, just very full force to get this thing off the ground. And it was awesome, but definitely was missing things with my family and having to leave during certain things and just always taking calls, which super grateful for it, but I just knew that is not how I wanted to grow things. And I didn't want to take this time to build, and then my kids are older and then I have the time for them. We really knew we wanted to kind of make everything congruent, and we're down for the hustle, but we definitely wanted to make sure we're not, missing the important things with our kids and our family. So with that, we ended up building a model that truly allows us to be anywhere in the world, anytime, for as long as we want, while our business still continually grows and it's very consistent. I don't do this by passing off, 50% of my deals each time. I don't do this by referring everything out. And I am very, very referral based. So it's also a way that we've built just an epic client experience to make sure that it's not just about us and the freedom, but that our clients are truly, truly getting taken care of. And I want to share some stats with you guys here at the end as well. But it really goes over just how much people yeah, you're cool, you're great, right? But people want a process to follow. It's not about you. It's not about you being there to open all the doors for them and do every little thing. It's about your clients having a clear process and guidance and knowing they are getting taken care of. So with that being said, we built out a showing agent model essentially. And I know sometimes that can sound, kind of not like the best route, if you will, especially if you're referral based. And that was one of my main concerns on it. I can tell you at this point, we're still just about 50% referral based. It's very consistent. 5-star Google reviews from people we've never met. So I truly know this process absolutely works. And the way we've kind of structured this is I work with a showing partner, never an assistant, never somebody who's just out there because I'm not available, but I bring in a showing partner to the transaction with my clients, and they do all of the boots on the ground activities. So all of this is very structured from the beginning and how we set it up. And the process from the beginning to the end is absolutely important, and just really making sure, again, your clients feel really good and that you're not just, having the freedom and the free time, but you're also building a business that's going to be long-standing, that gives you incoming business as well. You're not always having to chase it, right? There's a very specific way to structure it. So to kind of dig into some of that and to give some, tangibles, I really want this to give everybody, hopefully some pieces you could really take and run with and implement in your business to give you more time back and give you guys, a process that's really going to be great for you and your clients. And with that, we start essentially at the buyer's consultation. So it starts right at the beginning as we get this process going with our clients. Obviously, you've got to conduct the consultation to get them as a client. How can you be, anywhere in the world when you've got to conduct those appointments consistently as well? So we do those virtually. And when COVID, we've been doing this consistently for about 4.5 years now. When COVID hit, obviously it was a lot easier of a pivot. People were very open to the virtual thing. And that's kind of where we really started kicking this off. I will say 100% people still love the virtual consultation. It is very convenient. They can hop on same day with you. They don't have to worry about sitters or figuring things out. They can do it, in their car right after they got off of work. It's just a lot easier and consistent. People who have done this dance and know this process, they love it too. It saves them time. They're not having to take additional meetings, right? And fun fact, when you meet somebody and you see them either in person or you see them on a screen, the same parts of your brain light up. So of course there's, power and, vibrations and being close to people and hugging and saying hi and all that good stuff. But scientifically, you can absolutely build a connection with people on your virtual meeting and really get in there and add value to them. So with that being said, as we start the consultation and we really start getting that process going, in the consultation virtually is where I then pivot and start talking somewhat about the showing agent. So it's not a surprise to them. They don't just show up at a property and all of a sudden I'm not the one that's there. So in the consultation, there's a lot of epic consultations out there. I think a lot of them have a lot of fluff in them. So I took out all the crap. It's very specific. It's very valuable. It really hits on what people want and need to know when they're going throughout the process. So you're just hitting them with value, value, value. You're giving them confidence that you've got the process and you know what you're doing in order to get them to their goal, being a homeowner. So with that, as we kind of hit some of those aspects to it and provide value to them, I then have a slide that advises we're not a one-man show. I'm a full-service team. And with that, we're going to have a showing partner as well. Again, I can't touch enough that they're never assistants. It is a partner to me. It's a right hand. It's another resource to the client so they feel very taken care of. And at that point, I let them know that as we hit these next steps and they're ready to view homes, we've got another resource for them. And my showing partner is going to be involved and be like another right hand for them should they need anything through the process. And that's kind of the first step on how we really kick it off and start warming our clients up to the process. So that way it feels good, it feels like an item of value, and not like they're getting passed off to somebody else.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the biggest thing is setting expectations. A lot of people have that same fear of, everybody wants to work with me, but if you advise somebody as to why it's in their best interest and why it benefits them to have somebody else be able to help with the process, and you make it about them instead of making it about yourself, like you can get away with that. But so many agents struggle with setting expectations because they go into a buyer's consultation and say, it's just me, it's always me, and you'll be able to contact me 24/7, 365. And that's exactly what they're going to do, is contact you all day, every day, and expect you. So I really think it's cool that you've been able to just set that tone, but be able to connect to people even when you're on vacation.
Yeah, no, love it. Absolutely. And I think that's one definitely really key factor too is setting the expectations. And people love to be led. They love a process. I like the example of if you go to a doctor and he's like, hey, so you've got some things going on. Here's maybe, probably what you should do. I know it's not great, but here's, the process. Or you go to somebody and it's like, hey, here's what it is, here's what to do, here's why you should do it, here's your options, who are you going to go with, right? So I think it definitely really sets things up for them to trust you and know you got a solid process. And exactly what you said, people don't care that it is you. I can't stress that enough. And I cared so much about that. So I say that as somebody who learned that that's not something that's important. But I am so, like, I like to be with my clients. I'm friendly. We build a very good rapport. So I thought absolutely it was just going to be a killer to, different aspects of my business. But it absolutely grows and you can kind of build upon it from there. So to kind of get into like how do we find the showing agents, how do we onboard them, what's that whole process to really make sure everything is smooth from our clients perspective from start to finish, is first thing we put out ads for showing partners. Essentially that's how I'm finding them. I literally have just a flyer I created. This flyer is very specific to what are the duties are that I want them to do. It's not a ton of information, it's very to the point. I have things on there like they need to drive a nice car and have a real estate license, which sounds super basic, but I care about every single detail my client is walking into. So I want to know those things. And then I found I was fielding interviews here and there for people who didn't have a license or didn't have their own vehicle, just things that you would expect people would know in the position. So I also included things in there to make sure I'm not taking any extra time on this whatsoever. So I literally post an ad on Facebook. You can do it in groups, in the brokerage group, different things like that. A lot of these showing agents that we get are newer agents or part-time agents who want just another hourly, aspect of being in the real estate business, but aren't, full force wanting to go out and get the business themselves. I don't prefer new agents just because I don't want to do all of the upfront training. I want you to come with a little bit of knowledge, yes, and wherewithal, and then we can kind of build upon it from there. As I put out that ad, I have a phone call. So I don't even take time to do meetings. I don't hop on, additional times with them or do anything in addition except for comb their social media. I want to see, are they presentable? Are they complaining about things? That's an immediate out for me. And then I hop on a phone call with them. And a lot of people too are like, oh my gosh, you don't even have a meeting or anything. Totally get it, right? I can get everything that I need online and with a phone call. So what I tell people is really in that upfront phone call, if they answer and they're like, yeah, just left the gym, I'm having a great day, this, that, the other, like, let's get this going. Okay, we got something to work with here, right? If they're like, oh gosh, I got going late this morning and my tire blew out and this, that, the other, like, you know what I mean? It's a very quick, understanding from the conversation with them if I want to work with them or not, or kind of move things forward. Once we get to a place that, we're good, I'm going to start bringing them on as a showing agent. Everything is very dialed in and very systematic from there. So it's pretty much a one-time setup. I have videos on what they're supposed to do before showings, what they're supposed to do during, how they're supposed to communicate with me when they're out with my clients, how they communicate after, where the follow up is supposed to be left with the clients. So that way the clients have a very clear idea of, okay, we're done on our showings. Here's exactly what's going to happen next. So everything is very systematic, very dialed in. And I just have templates essentially that I send all the information over to them. So that way they can review it, make sure it all sounds good for them. And then we kind of get up and running from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think having standards is really important because knowing that these people are going to be a reflection and an extension of you, it's so critical to make sure that, we always talk about in our group that you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. And, you see all these new agents that have these big lofty goals and, they say they want it, but do their actions map to those goals? And oftentimes there's a clear delineation between what people say and what people actually do and how they operate throughout their daily life. And so I think that's, really powerful and being able to have that confidence, but also the fact that you've done all that training. And I'm assuming that you've been able to do all that training because you've actually done it yourself. I think a lot of people complicate what it takes to build like systems. System seems to be this like techie, overwhelming word. But the reality is systems are just documenting the exact same steps that you would take if you were to do the job. And if you've done the job once, you can create a system, you can create a process. And I think a lot of people, shy away from doing that because they think it has to be this like massive build out on CRMs and all this type of stuff. And yes, that stuff helps. But in the beginning, all that you have to do is be able to document what you would do and be able to say, here's the standards that I do it with, and now I need you to do the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's one thing too that's really epic about this is that like I'm literally using PDF guides I created, right? And we've just updated them from, what we need at the beginning to kind of where we are now. But it is so easy to implement. This is something too that there's people that love this part of it. There's always somebody who loves what you don't like to do, right? So there are people who are so personable. They like to be out with the clients. They don't want to deal with the binzer and the appraisal and all the crap that comes with it after, right? They love the boots on the ground stuff. They love to be out with people. They love to be kind of growing that, part of things. And some of it can be a revolving, position with the showing agents in the sense that they sometimes are building up their own business and staying in hourly. So if they hit their game plan, they're going to grow out of this position. A lot of them will grow and be agents on the team that are producing. So it's a good little build up there as well. But my main showing agent I've had for 4.5 years, and she's told me that she's been able to take vacations with her son and just do things that she couldn't do before. So even that, the way that we're facilitating this, I pay about 300 to 500 bucks for the life of my file. So if you think about everything they are doing and how much time it gives me and just the straight up consistency and predictability in my own schedule for a couple $100 a file, like it's absolutely mind blowing. And we're not giving up 50% of our business. To another one of your points as well, a lot of our reviews talk about how great the process was, how much they love our team and our people, how on top of it everybody was. So I think too, as long as you treat your people well and you help them build up with whatever their goals are, it really is an epic experience for everybody. And this is not like a Xiaomi or like a Redfin model, right? Which I'm great to each his own, absolutely. But I want consistency and I want people to be out with my clients the same person. I don't rotate showing partners. And you can really get to a place. So doing about 65 to 75 transactions a year, I would hold 2 full-time showing agents and 2 part-time showing agents, and that would facilitate everything that I needed. And then in doing so, the agents have their own schedules, right? Some of them, one of them was a teacher full time. So after 4 p.m. and weekends were her times for showings. Some people are early mornings, different things like that before their kids get out of school. So I also don't mind to kind of plug and play with the schedules because your clients are also the same way, right? It's very rare you have a client that wants to go view homes at all kinds of sporadic different time frames, right? They have their own schedule, they have their times, they need to go view homes, and you guys will put that plan together. And then I keep them with the same showing agent. So it really is just a very dialed in process from start to finish that really makes them feel very taken care of as well. So that's kind of just how we're facilitating it, and with doing the consultations virtually and then plugging in this model with the showing partners. I mean, there's literally nothing you have to be in town for. It's fabulous.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think it kind of reminds me of the book like the E Myth, which is start with the end in mind. And I think a lot of people just float throughout the real estate business and they just make the assumption that if they just keep doing what they're doing and they keep closing more deals, that more deals doing it the same way is just magically going to lead them to time freedom and to be able to travel. But the reality of it is that if they stop doing what they're doing, their income goes to zero because it's entirely dependent on them. They're not thinking about that life that they want to have, and that's where I think a lot of people end up getting burnt out because they're not willing to, kind of think that far ahead and start to reverse engineer what can they do today to be able to get there. And I think that would be, I'd love to hear more about the rest of your process, and I also think that would be a really good touch point is like in the very beginning when you first set this up, what like how did you kind of make that transition knowing that there was probably like a little bit of fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm relinquishing control? And most agents always say that thing of like nobody's going to do it like I can. And there's probably some truth to that. But the reality is, and I know people like Dan Martell are big advocates of this, is 80% done is 100% perfect. It's like, would you rather just have somebody else do it 80% of the way you would have done it and based on compensated with systems and processes, deliver a five-star experience and allow you to be able to get that time back to actually enjoy the life that you wanted to build?
Yes, 100% for sure. And I'm glad you touched on that because that's one thing too at the beginning. Giving up the control was so, I talk about it now like it's just so easy breezy and it's just our process. But yes, at the beginning, I was so worried about not being the one that was on the front ends or being there. Because same thing too. I'm like, I don't want to get out with every showing agent and be at the showings to then train them, which of course could be a process. And if that's what I needed to do, I would do it, but I want to give people clear instructions and have everybody just doing what they need to do. So definitely some fear up front on, how people are operating and what they're saying. And I've definitely had to have, like, I've let showing agents go. I've had to have conversations of, hey, like, don't start giving credit information to them because you don't know anything about their information. I know all of that, and this is what they need to be doing. So we can't give them this suggestion. So just different things I've had to tweak from there. It does, though. Anytime those things happen, it's just a little cue to me to put something else in place or give that information up front of, hey, here's what you're supposed to be saying to the clients. Here's how to facilitate it. Any of the questions for XYZ, revert them back to me. Let them know you're going to let me know the question that they had, and then I'm going to get back to them by X time frame. So I think, again, it's just really about systematizing it and setting up clear instructions, which I found that too. People much more prefer that. I think at the beginning too, I was maybe a little worried about like coming off too strong, like do this, do it that way. This is the way it needs to be. However, people again, they want to be led. So I found that too, and giving a lot more clear instructions. People prefer it. They know what to do. They know what their role is. I get less questions in it, but the control aspect of it, I mean, it lasted for some time in the beginning. It's not like it just goes away. You just have to keep doing it. And then you're seeing that it's working, or the hiccups that you're running into, you correct them and you move forward from there. And then it does get to a place where you really see how, like you like said, you're getting the reviews, you're getting the feedback from your clients, you're really seeing how well they're getting taken care of, and that your referral business is still coming in. Just all of the fears subside essentially once you kind of like trial by fire get in there and really start this process. But we have definitely fine-tuned it to a point that it is just, it's so black and white, it's so easy to follow, it's so easy to pick up and just implement and put out the information to hire somebody on, and then be able to properly train them to then be out with your clients. But the control part is definitely a toughie. And again, I'll hit some stats as we kind of roll up to the end so it all aligns together, that really touch base on the fact that people don't care who it is. They don't care at all. And they actually say they would leave their agent who they like if they know the process would be more smooth. So that's all they care about.
That's so cool. And I think a lot of this comes down to perspective. Like, you kind of touched on the fact that like mistakes are going to happen. It's inevitable. People are going to mess up. They're going to, not deliver the standards that you're expecting to the caliber that you're expecting it, and that's inevitable to happen. And I find what happens with a lot of agents that struggle to scale is that whenever something happens that they can probably predict is going to happen anyway, they shut down and they regress and they kind of tuck their head into their shell, and they think the whole world is collapsing. Oh my God, there was a mistake, and what's going to happen, and that seems to be the perspective of people that struggle. But people that win and thrive and grow, like you and Armando have been able to do, it's a learning lesson. It's like, okay, great, now we know there's a hole in the bucket, let's plug that hole so it never happens again. And if you start seeing every single mistake or every single little hiccup as an opportunity to improve the process, add something in, dial it in further, you end up getting to the point where the process is flawless because you've learned from those mistakes and saw it as a beautiful thing instead of saw it as something that's like making your whole world come down to a crash, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's definitely, I think, to your point, that people who are successful, there's zero chance they got there because everything was just so well paved and they had no hiccups and they just happened to get there in a smooth way. There's always an issue, there's always a hiccup, there's always going to be something. And so much of it in this business is just a mental game. What we do, honestly, it's not hard. Like it's really not hard. It can be tedious. You got a lot of people's emotions on you, but like we're not doing brain surgery on children. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like if you get a process, it's not that difficult to just get this up and get running with it. But I think a lot of people do get in their own way, and I totally get it. And I think it's hard, and I've had to read so many books and like Power of the Mind and You Are a Badass and all those like things to kind of hype you up in the beginning to know like this is just the way it is. People who are successful are going through these things, and it's never a failure unless you stop. It's just a learning curve. You figure it out, you just keep it moving. So I just think in general in this business, that's definitely a really solid quality to have, to know like things are there's too many people involved and people are just so unpredictable. There's just always going to be something. So I think if you can just kind of stomach that and know like this phone call is either going to be epic or it's going to put a freaking wrench in my day, and either way I'm going to take it and we're going to get to this next step. So I think too, just kind of implementing the proper process, especially with having other people now out with my clients and making sure that I do control that as best as possible. It definitely is just kind of, little tweaks and recalibrations for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so there's two really critical things that I want to ask because I know it's what 100% of people watching this are going to ask. And so we'll start with the first one. The first one is, in very just simply, walk me through, if you from the point that you get a client to the point where the deal is closed, what are you doing and what are they doing? And so what does that process look like in terms of like how involved are you? What are the tasks that you're in control of? And then what, where does the limitations of the showing agent kind of start and end?
Absolutely. So, definitely great questions there. And this has also changed over time as I've kind of fine tuned things, as I've realized just duties that I don't prefer to do, honestly, that I don't need to do, that somebody else is very happy to do for an hourly amount. So, initially, I was a lot more involved. It really was just getting to a place where I could do the consultation virtually and then get the clients and the showing partners out together, and the showing partners handle, and they have since day one, every boots on the ground activity. So anytime they want to go view properties, and this is all set up initially, and of course there's a process for this, but it's all done essentially via group text. So as we get to a place that the client's ready to get out and view homes, again, this is already pre-prepped in the consultation, so they're expecting this next step. And then I group text with the showing agent, which is so funny, to the point of control. When I first started this, I didn't do a group text. I was like, I'm not gonna put this person on a group text with my client. I'll text everything, I'll see what's going on, I'll coordinate it, I'll get it to the other agent, and then we'll move from there. When you're ziplining and somebody can't open a lockbox and you're not on your phone and you're the middleman, like it just doesn't work. So I got to a place where now everything is on a group text. In 4.5 years, I've never had a problem, an issue. People aren't trying to take my clients. I think that's part of the upfront vetting process, but also the relationship I have with my clients. So they do the group text initially and they get everything set up. They receive the properties, they get them scheduled, they get them mapped out, they get everything coordinated. They meet with the clients, they know they need to be there 15 minutes early for the first one, doors open, lights on, all the very easy things that just make you come off as a professional initially. And then at that point, when they're at the showings, they'll give me feedback in real time. Like, here's the address, here's a question they had. And same thing at the beginning, I used to jump in on all of those things. And I would even tell the clients, hey, while you guys are out in showings, in real time, I'll be following up on any questions that you have, which is awesome, right? Sounds like, a good item of value. However, then you're just kind of middlemaning things again. So any questions the clients have at the properties as well, the agent, the showing partner, will group text with me and the seller's agent and get the questions answered. So like I'm in the loop on everything, but I'm literally just getting caught up as they're doing all the moving parts. Then once the showings are over, if the clients are interested in doing anything, putting any offers in, they know that I'm going to get in touch with them within a certain amount of time. Obviously, that's kind of set up, just dictated on where my schedule is and what we want to do from there. And then I do handle all of the negotiations. So I want them to know, like, this person's opening doors, this, that, the other, but they got a shark handling their negotiations and everything else that's important to them. I want them to really see my value too. And these are like my past clients that I follow up with. Like, I still nurture them. I don't just pass it off and kind of go from there. So I do want them to still feel connected to me, and I want to have a relationship with them. I want to build a rapport. All things I do by never seeing some of these clients in person, for sure, it absolutely works. But with that, the agent handles all the boots on the ground. They get everything scheduled, any follow-ups, anything that the client has questions on. And then I'm more behind the scenes. I handle, again, kind of negotiations, just kind of putting the deal together. At that point, the showing agent will also jump in and write offers and handle all of that. Things that I was jumping in before and doing, right? But zero added value to your client. You can, give a little more hours to your people, which they love, right? Keeps them, wanting to be doing more and wanting to be invested in this as well. And then they're already doing the communication. They're already getting the information on the property from the seller's agent. They're already doing those little pieces to put the deal. They know at the property if there's a washer, dryer, and fridge that need to be added in the contract, right? There's just little details that are easier for them to know as well. So with that being said, I let them take all of that as well, and they handle all of those duties. What I think is really epic about this is you can literally make it whatever you want it to be. So whatever the things are that you don't personally like to do, they can handle all of that. You just put a process in place for it, right? With that, it's grown from there to a point to where I do have them now, depending on how involved they are in the deal. And I will only do this with parties that have kind of built up and have watched me do things. So I know this process is flowing. I'll have them call about Binzer follow-ups and things like that and put the Binzer together. I'll have them call and follow up on the appraisal information. And it's awesome because they're already a part of the deal. The clients already know them. They already have rapport with them. So it's not like this random person is following up and they're wondering where I am. It's our full service team there to communicate with them. So to give you kind of a more black and white answer, I more so just handle communication and negotiations, and I really pass off everything else for, again, about 500 bucks a file. It is life changing.
That's crazy. That's so cool. And I think, helping people understand that it's a journey and it's an evolution and something that takes time and it's not going to be perfect from day one, but it's something that you can grow into. And I think, that's a journey that I've been on too. And I think I encourage any agent to go on, which is that, you know, as you start to go through your journey, if you can create a system for something that you can, anytime you do an activity more than once, create a process around it. If there's something that you hate doing and you can outsource it for a fraction of the cost compared to what you could make if you spend your time on high income producing activities like lead generation, then find somebody to outsource it to. And it's just this evolution of your business that I think is a beautiful journey to go on. But before we get into stats, I know there's one really critical question that people are going to be curious about, and so we're going to take it way back and say, how the heck, and I know that you and I have another video coming out talking about more of this stuff, but if we kind of unpack your first couple of years, like how did you get to the point where you could even entertain this style of business, in the sense of, what did you do to become rookie of the year in your first year? Like, how were you getting your business? And then how did that evolve over time to get to the point where you've got this very consistent, predictable 65 to 75 deals a year?
Definitely. So yeah, I feel like we could do like a four-parter on all of this, right? Like how to get the
Oh yeah.
business, how to conduct with your client, how to facilitate the showing agent, the follow-up from there. So yeah, definitely another great question. And it really, I partnered right up front initially with an amazing mentor. I think that really shortened a lot of the curve for us. There was a lot of things I wasn't guessing on. Even to this model, like if somebody wants to jump in and do this now, they would be so far ahead with just everything we have in the process and the documentation. Like we've done all the hiccups, the kinks, we've worked out the things that don't work to really make this viable for you, for your agent, for your clients. But with that, I think I just kind of shortened the curve, if you will, because I connected right away with somebody who's like, here's the Joshua Smith again, here's the process, here's what to do. Again, if you know him, you know he has systems and processes and sets you up with not just fluffy information like post on social, you'll get deals. It's like, here's how, here's a frequency, here's how to go about it. So shortening that curve and just really getting in right up front with a mentor was definitely a game changer. Like I'll always credit him to honestly just changing my life, my mentality, and just really kind of like helping to build up from there. I think you have to have some tough skin with it. There's some days you just want to go cry in the shower and you can't. You just got to get right back to it. Like if the day sucked and it was so hard, you just need to keep it moving and get to that good day, right? So it's not kind of what you're ending on. And I don't give a shit who you are. Those days are happening. They're especially when you're doing volume, right? The shit just comes. It is what it is. So at first it was a lot harder and very stressful. And to come from stay-at-home mom, no real stress, honestly, to everybody's emotions and real life dollars on you, it's a lot for sure. So a lot of books, a lot of reading, a lot of just keeping my mental game in this was so important. Reading a lot of books by other business owners, Ryan Blair, just getting information that everything that you're experiencing is really normal and it's just a part of your path. So you're either with it or you're not. Keep it moving and shut up, or go find something else to do. So I think all of those things kind of put together really set me up with a solid foundation to just kind of come out the gate swinging. And then I had a TC background. So not that that really helps you with lead gen or anything, which I'll get into with this next part, but it really gave me a good foundation for things I already kind of knew in the business and how to communicate and things on that end. I saw the shit storms going down and the things the agents were dealing with. I knew somewhat what I was getting into. So with that, this was 10 years ago. I mean, interest rates were 3% and you could get a 4-bed home for $250,000. It was a different world. So it was a lot, we were just running Facebook ads essentially. So running more targeted ads that then started really building our business and kind of giving us more of a presence in the area. From there, we really had to build on that. So I have a very, I say heavy presence on social. I do not have a large following. I do not have a polished page. I am just consistent. That's all it is. I put out value and I am consistent, and I have been since the beginning. And over time, what that's done is now create more incoming business from online leads. So I don't want to be too all over the place, but to kind of piece it together, we've got our free organic Facebook that I run. I created a group in the city that I live in that organically brings me about 3 to 4 deals a month, just people literally reaching out in my neighborhood wanting to do business. We don't really have a lot of rentals where I live, so a lot of them are immediately duals because they're selling a property as well. So those online free sources are absolutely the way that we started building it up. And it was just constant posting, constant items of value. Are you interested in a home if you could get a 3% rate? Just all those little things that people, I think, overcomplicate, honestly, and totally been there too. And I paid thousands of dollars for courses for people to tell you, and people with these, 7-figure followings that you just want to, kind of see what they're doing. I don't give a shit about any of that either. It is all the same fundamentals, and adding value and being consistent will trump all. So we just really hit the ground, hard running with that. We're very systematic. So I'm not just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it's working. I could definitely be way more dialed in my analytics. So I'm not I'm not that good at it on all the back end stuff, if you will. But when it comes to where our leads are coming from, how much we need to put out to get the leads that we're wanting to do, from Josh from day one, definitely taught us tracking is incredibly important. I can't take any of the credit there. I'm very much I like to be on the front end. I like to hit the ground running, just keep it all moving. I hate the sitting down and the tracking and all of that. So not to, fluff everybody, However, my partner is a wizard at that. So Armando does all of that, right? So even if you don't like it, find somebody who does and implement that in your business, because that's what gave us a tangible, trackable path to know what to pour the gasoline on that was really going to work for us. So those online lead sources were amazing and really how this all got started. After that, about 2 to 3 years in, if you're doing everything properly, your referral business is going to be money. So we're 50% referral based, 50% organic online lead based as well. And we'll get, like, we're very into getting Google reviews as well. So like we'll get calls from people who Googled us and like different one-offs from there. But primarily it is the organic social and then building that referral business. I've done the showing model for about 4.5 years now, as mentioned. And even then, referral business, I was so worried. It has only grown. People love it. It is so systematic. And I don't like the, like, hey, it's Sunday afternoon, I want to go see this property. Like we call us Pop Tart realtors. We don't, kind of fly up and, we have a very set schedule, very systematic either way. However, it can still be, where things are scheduled and now you're having additional items because you got to go view homes and do all that. So I don't prefer that. I don't like things that are not scheduled. I like sticking to my calendar. However, they'll invite you to baby showers, to their parties, to things that are scheduled, and I will absolutely show face. So I get out there. If I see, like, one of my really good clients' dogs just passed away, so I sent her like a couple little keepsakes for him. So like different things that still keep that relatability and that connection as well. We're definitely very much about that. The community group that I run, I'll do like a free yoga in the park, which it's like $150, and I get a whole group of people who are in my area who like to do what I like to do. So those are things I do when I'm in town to grow things. So that way, if I'm out of town, 4 to 6 months out of the year, it doesn't matter. I've already spent time building these other things. And then I can kind of pop into town when I need to show face or do whatever it is I'm doing. But really organic online and then really focusing on referral is how we built this. So I'm not doing open houses or cold calling all day or things to that effect.
That's unbelievable. And for, anybody that's listening, me and your husband Armando did an incredible video talking about and breaking down the exact Facebook ads that you guys, ran and how he converted those at such a high rate. So for anybody that's listening, I'll link that in the description below and the pinned comment because you're going to want to check that out. But also, I know you and I are going to do a full video breaking down the entire Facebook group strategy. So you guys are going to want to, follow along for that. But, I'd love to hear some of those stats, Naleka, that you were talking about at the beginning as well, to really contextualize some of these fears that I think a lot of people are going to have and assumptions that they're going to make.
Love it. Yes. So let's hit those. And to that point as well, something I want to touch on really quickly is it's so funny. There's like a universal saying for agents, right? Like, what happens when you go on vacation? Your phone starts blowing up, right? When you're on vacation and deals are just coming in, and that's already a part of your process and what you're expecting, it is so amazing and so enjoyable. And I feel like you're just like double dipping on whatever the heck the universe is doing, because I've never been on a vacation to where your phone, right, doesn't start. People that you've been talking to 4 years ago, all of a sudden, now that you're out of town, are, ready to do things. And then I think it's so much more enjoyable and just keeps you so much more in it when you're working somewhere fun or you're somewhere new or your view is just this amazing, beach that you're on. It really, like, I get super bored. I thought for a little bit of time that I like wanted more time off, and I did give that to myself. And it was so freaking boring. So I like working. I like the hustle of it. But when you can be out and do things that are enjoyable to you and you're like fueling your personal cup too, and you're just not on the phone or in front of your computer all day, like, it's so easy to work 10 plus hours a day when you're just like out. Not that you need to do that, and I work way less hours than I used to at the beginning, but I just feel like travel also has really enhanced like how much I like to work and build my real estate business as well. So to kind of hit some of these stats, and why I love these is because it's just black and white. It is data. It is from consumers per NAR. And these are not stats I knew before I started getting into this. And they definitely help kind of ease some of the limiting beliefs I had, if you will. So Some of them that I'll hit real quick here. So, customer satisfaction, 88% of buyers consider a smooth closing process more important than working with a specific agent. These are all stats from 2020 or after. Another one, realtor loyalty. Only 17% of home buyers use the same realtor for multiple transactions, indicating that loyalty to a specific agent is less important than the experience of the transaction itself. Another one, two more for you. Agent switching, 41% of buyers would switch their real estate agents if it meant a more seamless transaction. And that's coming from Zillow stats. Obviously, they've got tons of buyer stats going on there. And then the last one here, efficiency over relationships. So according to the 2020 NAR report, 67% of buyers value an efficient process more than an established relationship with their agent, which honestly blew my mind. And I will say, I think especially the way things are going in AI, which if you're not utilizing, you're going to be left behind for sure. But all of those things, I do think relationships are very important. I do think they're going to become more important than they have before. And I think that you're not going to get weeded out in this field if you have built a solid core of relationships. So I will say that absolutely. And I do think building upon that is really important. And I love my referral business. However, I don't care how much they like you. If you're giving somebody shitty service, they're going to go on to the next. And you can give people epic service while controlling your schedule and have quality of your life and not just be building to go travel when you're 70 and you can't hike those mountains you want to anymore. So I just feel like it's a very good way to kind of bring it all together, and it's a total win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that's so powerful, and I love the stats because a lot of people, always have their own beliefs, but you can't argue ego and emotion with math. And so the data is proven and is facts, and I think that really summarizes the importance of the process. And the beautiful part is that's exactly what you've been able to help other agents with. And so I'd love to kind of pull a full circle with that. The fact that you, me, Josh, and Armando are now partners, and you've been able to, basically give this business in a box to other agents to help them basically implement this in their own market so that they can start to increase their production while also getting more time back for their family, their passions, their hobbies, and their lifestyle. So, let's just dive into what you guys do to help agents that are looking to take their business to the next level, because there's, everybody's aware of the stat that 71% of agents didn't close a deal in 2024. And to me, that's a choice. You don't have to be in an environment where people hoard their information, where you're paying thousands of dollars for training, where people are keeping everything to themselves. You can make a conscious decision to surround yourself with winners, with people that share everything and who have a vested interest in helping take your business to the next level. So, what can people expect when aligning with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when you have that abundant mindset and you're paired with people who think the same, just the trajectory of the growth you can get in the shortened amount of time frame. Like there's no magic pill by any means, but that right there is definitely a key that can really help, boost things when you get in those rooms with people who are very willing to share with you truly what they're doing to grow their businesses as well. So with that, to kind of take it back to the beginning a little bit, we are very hands-on with our agents. I'm still in the field as well. Agents shadow me on these appointments. I let them watch the virtual consultations so you can literally see what we are doing, so that way you can tangibly go and do it yourself as well. I will hop on to your virtual meetings initially to kind of get you up and going. So we really are hands-on in the sense that when we say we're going to help you and get this going, like we're vested, like we want you to win. We know this process is proven and absolutely works, and we can, kind of take and accelerate your business and grow your life. So we're very hands-on with that. We then have a very systematic process to where we'll help you get your social going organically as well. You got to get the leads to be able to have that business, to then create that lifestyle. So we also help and build that up as well. I was literally just with an agent last week in the office, and she's awesome. She's a hustler. She's motivated. But I check in on my agents and I see what they're doing, and I'll peep at your social and kind of see what's going on, right? And I kind of saw it was like falling off, and I could tell something like something's going on. So I reached out to her and she's like, yeah, honestly, like she's got the wherewithal for it. She just didn't feel like she had like a clear path of like what to do and how to be posting. So I set up a meeting with her, and we literally, I mean, it's so serious, in 15 minutes, mapped out a couple weeks worth of actual posts for her, got it over to my social media manager, just had her do a group email so she didn't even have to create them. They're literally in her inbox. And now I see her social and just popping again. So we'll literally teach you what to do, how to do it, what to post, help you put it together. Like it doesn't get any more clear and black and white on how to set that up. And then the kind of final piece to tie that all together is, and we're going to be having a live webinar coming up soon, really dialing in on a lot of this with you and Josh and Armando. I cannot wait. But we've also got our remote broker blueprint, remote realtor blueprint, I should say. And that blueprint really outlines the process of how to get a showing agent. I show you my exact ads of what I am putting out. You can literally rip off and duplicate. We call it R&D. Just take it and run with it. It's proven, right? And then you can see exactly the videos that I'm sending out. When I say everything is systematized to the process, everything that I've done and systematized is very laid out, and we provide that to the agents as well. So you can literally take it step by step from having no business, no showing agent, on how to get business that's going to be organic, free, allow you to be anywhere, and then how to go ahead and facilitate it to hire a showing agent, and then how to implement it from there. I will say, same, like there's no shiny pill, right? Like you got to put in the reps, you got to show up, you got to be consistent. There's definitely, some things to this. However, it's very easy. It's very easy to follow. And I've worked with agents as well who have absolutely used this and implemented it. And same, like they told me before that they were like using Showami, for example, and they just couldn't figure out how to like really piece everything together because it's just always a new agent out, whoever was available. I had an agent who was pretty successful say that she hadn't been able to take any vacations, went to India for 4 weeks, had a closing while she was there, picked up a couple clients. So, I mean, people, if you're putting in the work, it absolutely works. The process is absolutely here. And like I said, I've been doing it consistently for the last 4.5 years. So I believe in it so much, and I know it can really help people.
Yeah, that's so powerful, and that's the beautiful part about this partnership and synergy at EXP is the fact that we now have a vested interest in being able to help people take their business to the next level, and we could do it for free, right? Previously, you used to have to invest thousands of dollars to work with people like me or you or Josh to get our support, and now people can have access to us and be able to get everything that we're doing to see the success. And we're going to continue to do it because we all win together. And so it's just so exciting. And again, Naleka, I'm so grateful for you to just break down that roadmap. And again, we're going to be diving deeper into some of the other strategies and also, showcasing some more stuff on our event. So again, I couldn't be more grateful for everything that you shared.
Yeah, no, thank you. I absolutely appreciate your time. And yeah, I'm so grateful too for everything that we have to just offer to agents. And I think we both have like seen a lot and been in a lot of programs and been at other brokerages.
Yeah.
And we're not fluffy people. Like I just can't say enough. Like this brokerage really, and this, kind of path that we're at with the information that you provide as well and everything that Josh provides, it really is like I've looked into many other things. I was the designated broker on my own brokerage, and coming here was still worth it because everything that is offered and the collaboration, like you said, for the cost, the fact that you aren't paying thousands on top for these trainings. I mean, I haven't seen it anywhere else. I'll say that.
100%. And with that being said, again, please make sure you click the link in the description below, book a conversation with Naleka and Armando, and have a conversation, right? The most important thing as an entrepreneur is to stick with an open mind and be able to explore these opportunities to see what we can do to help take your business to the next level and explore if this is a good fit. Because at the end of the day, as many people say, the most expensive thing you can have in business is a closed mind. And so many people are yet again going to become one of those statistics this year just because they decided to have a closed mind and not explore opportunities that are proven to work every single time for people to commit. So make sure you click those links in the descriptions, check out Naleka's content, book your call, and I can't wait to hopefully welcome you into our record breaking family.